Welcome in, Campo and Joe. Happy to be hanging out and talking some Jaguar football. And I think we're probably happy about talking about Jaguar wins. Joe C. from XL Primetime, Coach Dave Campo, former Dallas Cowboy head man and an assistant right here in Jacksonville when Jacksonville was going to the postseason back in the mid-2000s under Jack Del Rio. We have got so much to get into, Coach. And we come out of a huge win over the LA Chargers. Let's dive into it, but it feels good, doesn't it?
Oh, it sure does. Winning is really what it's all about. You know, we've said many times, it's one thing progress, which has to happen. But, don't just tell me progress. Tell me we won a ball game.
Exactly.
And we've beaten two pretty good football teams and probably should have beaten the other one.
Yeah.
But two feels really good at this point, and a win is a win.
Yeah, you can go back, and we could probably rethink about that, the Commanders game, especially after this past week. Washington, with Carson Wentz, got sacked 8 or 9 times by the Philadelphia Eagles that this team's going to see next. And what's so funny, I'll pull up the stat here in a second and give it back to you as far as Carson Wentz is concerned, but that's a game Jacksonville probably still feels like they could have gotten. All right, so what's amazing about week 3, here we are. Jacksonville had shut out the Indianapolis Colts 24-0, and you go on the road. You don't know whether Justin Herbert is healthy. He's got a rib injury all the way up until game time. You're thinking he's not going to play. Bottom line is he plays. I think most Jaguar fans out there, if we're being honest, Coach, most probably thought, all right, he's playing. I hope we're competitive. I don't think anybody saw a 38-10.
Leon Searcy's the only one I know that
he did pick him to win. He did.
No question. I mean, when the schedule came out, if that guy's playing, and I don't care if he's playing, he's telling everybody I'm ready to play, and I can play at the level that it takes to win. That's the NFL motto. That's why you ask the guys, are you ready to go?
Right.
Leon says that all the time. Once you cross the line, you put the pads on.
Yep.
That's it. You're ready to play. Well, when we first looked at the schedule, if he's playing, you say, well, that's an L. When you start adding them up,
right,
that's an L. So for them to go out there and do what they did under the circumstances that they're in, coming off a big win, going across the country, that could probably be not a harder situation for a young team going forward, and they handled themselves very well.
All right, so let's go through this, and let's start on the offensive side. Even though you're a defensive guy, let's start on the offensive side. These two teams go through a scoreless first quarter, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, they're trying to feel each other out, a couple of 3-and-outs to start. Then they got the ball moving a little bit. And you're starting to see Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence really take hold. Well, they made defensive plays basically to get this game going. But once they were uncorked offensively, Coach, you're really starting to see a football team that's got a lot of weapons.
Yeah, we really do. And it's by committee. I mean, when you look offensively, I'm really excited about the progress of Trevor, obviously, at quarterback. But, a lot of it comes from the fact that he's got some receivers that can get themselves open, and he trusts them, and he knows, where they're going to be, when they're going to be there, and it's allowing him to get the ball out quicker. Some of that is the scheme. Some of that is him getting rid of the ball.
Right.
But the offensive line played extremely well in that game against some good pass rushers and gave him time to be able to do a little something down the field.
And, all right, so Joey Bosa goes out fairly early in this game. He's facing off, coming off the left edge of the Chargers defensive front against Jawan Taylor. You got Khalil Mack on the other side going up against Cam Robinson. You've already told me that you felt like this was, and by the way, Leon agrees, this was the best game the two tackles together have played.
Yes, and I will say this, I'll be the first one, I really haven't had a chance to really study Taylor in the 3 ball games. And I'm going to look this week because, I truly believed that he didn't have the feet to be able to play out there. But I will say one thing. I think this offensive line coach is the real deal, Rauscher, because his set pattern is different than it was. Last year, he was backing way back into the backfield. He's setting at a different angle now, and he's getting the hands on the guys quicker. Yeah. So he's not getting beat underneath as much. some of that is coaching, but those two guys together played a really good football game. And if I was going to give an MVP, it would be those two guys and Trevor Lawrence in that ball game.
Well, they definitely were kind of the linchpin when it all started rolling in the right direction. They definitely were providing the protection, Trevor stepping up in the pocket, making good decisions, finding all of his weapons. The throw across the body to Zay Jones in the back of the end zone was a thing of beauty. And so I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing a lot of different reasons why this is all coming together. It's not necessarily just one thing. You mentioned Phil Rauscher. We're talking about a staff that is capable, accomplished, and they're doing good things. Phil Rauscher comes in, a respected guy who would cross paths with Brandon Sheriff up in Washington. They hired him away from Minnesota. And it's not like George Warhop was this terrible offensive line coach, but Phil Rauscher is coming in, taking the same set of guys. You add Brandon Sheriff in there. The rest of them had all been here, and they're a better unit.
Well, here's how I look at that whole situation. When you look at a guy like Rauscher, he comes in. If you have skins on the wall, you get a little bit of respect. Well, the best thing you can have is a guy that has been coached by you on the club, because a guy like Sheriff says to the guys, hey, listen to this guy. He's pretty sharp.
Right.
He knows what he's doing. If you just stick with him, that's the first thing that a head coach looks for when he comes into a locker room, a new locker room. He looks for the guys that can champion his cause. And when you have a champion that you coached that's in the building, and you're speaking through him. Right. And I think Rauscher has gotten their ear, and again, Fortner, the progress he's made from the first two games to where he was in this ball game, he's doing it with everybody, and a lot of it is confidence and belief in the guy that's coaching you. Yeah,
I'm glad you said Luke Fortner, because you really could say 2/5 of the line is new. Right. You pointed that out as the rookie and the veteran Brandon Sheriff coming in. They have other guys that have been here before, 3/5 of it. Ben Bartch given an opportunity to start, but he had been here. Obviously, Juwan fighting and winning that right tackle job, and then Cam Robinson sticking around. The other thing is that when you think about, I'm looking at Jacksonville, they end an 18-game road losing streak. Anyone who says, they didn't have a healthy Justin Herbert, that was easy. That was 18 games, people, that they had lost on the road, one way or another, through bad coaching, bad play, however you want to describe it. But then look at the scoring in the middle of this game. This was in part based on them forcing the Chargers into mistakes and turning those mistakes into points and then scoring on their own. They outscored them 31-10 in 2 quarters of football. Would you say those are the most important quarters, right before the half and right after the half?
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, when you go in at halftime, whatever the score is, I can name 100 ball games where one team was up by 2-3 touchdowns and get beat in the game in the second half because of the skill of the players you have, but also the skill of the staff of being able to make adjustments. Most NFL staffs are pretty experienced, and they can make those adjustments. When you score a lot of points in that part of the field, that's huge, because, you're just continuing what you started.
All right, so continuing what you started, I'm going to take that phrase, and I'm going to ask you going forward, and this is going to be a question we'll probably ask every single week on Campo and Joe, but Doug Peterson has started something here. Now, obviously, you want to start building on it. I don't want to jump completely ahead and look at the Eagles game, but this has the feeling of a football team that is improving, and improving much quicker than I thought. I told you before, I had them somewhere around the middle of the year maybe turning the corner. They've turned a major corner here.
Well, there's no question. I mean, you beat two quality football teams that were picked. And again, preseason prognostication is not always accurate.
Yeah.
You said earlier on the primetime show the numbers of teams that are 2-1
exactly
that last year were terrible.
Didn't even make the postseason.
Yeah, didn't make the postseason.
I'll rattle them off in a second.
Yeah, but when you're talking about a situation that happens this quickly, that's Doug Peterson. He's got the ear of the players, and there's a chance to be something special. And to the other point about this guy was hurt and that guy was hurt. One of the years we won the Super Bowl in Dallas, we played against 7 backup quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers that.
Take advantage of the situation.
All they remember is that ring you got on your finger.
Hardware.
So it doesn't matter. That's why when you cross the line, whoever, all those guys are getting paid. It doesn't matter whether you're first team or second team. You're getting paid.
And it is funny because I can't help but go back to 2017 with the Jaguars here, where they caught a lot of breaks like you're describing. They would catch backup quarterbacks, just injury bug hitting the other team. And Jacksonville in 17 stayed extremely healthy. Only had a couple of games, individuals missing starts on the defensive side. That's when they were so dominant defensively. But they caught backup quarterback after backup quarterback. At the very least, early on, they have played Matt Ryan straight up, and they've played Justin Herbert straight up. The Indianapolis Colts, that were shut out by your Jacksonville Jaguars, beat the Kansas City Chiefs the next week. And the AFC West that everyone thought was just unstoppable, this immovable force that you weren't going to be able to even compete against, the AFC South beat the AFC West in 3 of those ball games. So you have to give them credit. So here's the number, Coach. Baltimore, Chicago, Cleveland, Miami, Minnesota, New York, and Jacksonville are all 2-1. Those are all teams that didn't make the postseason last year.
Right. And that's what the league is all about. This is a league of parity. And, if you can never say, look at another team. Let's say you look at any team and someone else beats that team by 20. You can't say, no matter how good you are, that you're going to go into that ball game and beat that team by 20. It's all matchups. It's all parity. It all comes down to 4 or 5 plays. The one thing this team has shown me at this point right now is not how many they're going to win. What it's shown me is that they can compete, in my opinion, with the better football teams in this league. And this is going to be another challenge this week because the team we're playing this week is probably better than the other 2.
Right.
But that does not mean that game isn't going to come down to the last 4 or 5 plays in the game and us being competing in the fourth quarter.
I feel like that's the biggest step forward that you listed. And both you and I are, I don't mind breaking out the pom-poms and admitting this. I'm a cheerleader for this coaching staff because it is profound what they have been able to do. Yes, they have added people. They went out and signed Christian Kirk. They went out and signed Zay Jones, brought in Evan Ingram. We know all the guys that they brought in, and we also know the guys that they drafted. But without a sound coaching staff, a vision, leadership, all that stuff from the top down, Doug Peterson from the top down, they're not turning heads in the NFL like they are right now.
Right. And really, coaching matters. I mean, there's no question about it. I'll give you an example of how important the staff is. Griffin goes down. Herndon comes in.
Yeah.
Well, why did they keep Herndon? Because the staff looked at him and said, hey, look, this kid's got a chance to be a good backup.
He wasn't theirs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Did you hear Herndon's name mentioned in the game?
No.
But if you watch the tape, he made some tackles. He did this and that. If you don't hear a corner's name, he's doing pretty good.
Right. Corner, left tackle, those are the guys you don't want to have mentioned.
Don't hear their name because usually it's negative when you hear their name.
And when you just think about losing a Shaq Griffin, a high-priced free agent who, look, we can debate whether he's playing well enough, but the fact that they have an undrafted Trey Herndon step in and not feel like they miss a beat, touch on one other thing, which I thought was pretty important. Keeping Darius Williams in the slot position as the nickel corner instead of panicking and saying, let's put him back, let's let's put him outside where Shaq was and make Trey play inside.
Well, first of all, the nickel position is unique. You know, you've heard me say that before. He's half a linebacker, but he's also a man-to-man cover guy on the guy that can use the whole field.
Right.
You know, the slot uses the whole field. The corners on the wideouts at least have the sidelines to help them out. So the whole thought process there was, we've seen Herndon inside all last year. Darius Williams is a better inside corner than Trey Herndon is. Okay, so why move two guys to replace one? Let's go ahead and keep the guy that's the best nickel player inside on the guy that's the toughest to cover.
Right.
And let's go outside with Herndon. And if we had to, we can double cover. We can roll up on, if that's the case during the course of the ball game. And they made the right decision there, in my opinion.
And confidence in Trey Herndon, because his position before this year was in that slot area.
Exactly.
He was asked to do that. So I do think that's a confident move that they made. So stay there with Mike Caldwell. I've already named him the assistant coach of the year because I think he's doing a kick-ass job in putting guys in good spots, game planning well, choosing when to send guys. I like the mix and flow of this defense.
I love the guy. I mean, I think he's gotten started on the right foot. And another example of that is, who here loves K'Lavon Chason?
Not too many people.
Nobody, right?
Right.
Well, a lot of that pressure that's going on third down, which, again, pressure is what's important. Pressure hits on a quarterback. Sacks are great because they change the ball game.
Right.
But pressure is what gives you a chance to win on third down, especially. K'Lavon Chason's part of that. He's using him all over the place inside. He's not using him outside. He's using him inside where he's on a guard or where he can wrap around somebody because he's an athlete. He's putting guys in position to make plays. And I think before this season is over, you're going to see Walker in about 7 different positions because he can do them all.
Yeah.
And once he's comfortable and everything and doing what he's doing, that's what they're doing with Micah Parsons in Dallas. Quinn, they're talking about Quinn like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he is, because he's putting the guys in the right spots to get things done.
The one thing that does jump out to me when you say Micah Parsons, though, is this dude is sacking the quarterback twice every game.
Well, but yeah, that's correct.
He's on a roll.
He's a special cat.
Yeah.
You got to do with what you have. Okay. Well, yeah, he's a 4.3 40 guy at his size. So he's going to make a bunch of sacks. Maybe our guys won't get sacks, but they'll pressure the quarterback because they're athletes.
Right.
But there's nobody that's running 4.3 in this group. So you make do with what you have.
Right.
And that's what he's doing.
And Trayvon, and he can line up inside. He can line up on both edges, coming with his hand on the ground if they need him to, or coming off the edge and coming and get him. And then he drops and covers this pass.
And he's got a pass deflection.
But he's got these long arms. He's got such big range, and he's pretty dang quick for a 270-pound man.
And guys, all of you out there, watch the game again if you recorded it. Watch Trayvon Walker when they try to run outside to his side.
Yeah.
They're not getting outside of that side. They're going to have to go to the other side. He, in the run game, forget about it.
And that's the hard coaching that he got from Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp, all those defensive guys, Dan Lanning, all those defensive guys in the college game, and now add to some of the instruction and tutelage that he's getting from Mike Caldwell and all those other guys around him. Josh Allen is in a better spot to make plays. DeJuan Smoot got to Justin Herbert, forced the ball out with one of those quick turnovers, and they got it into the end zone. All right, let's hit the offensive side. Christian Kirk, I keep patting you on the back because you're one of the first guys that said this guy will have a big, big season, and he is having it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that another guy like Walker. You can play him in the slot. You can play him in the backfield. You can play him outside. You can just scheme him to get him open, get a matchup situation. That's what they have right now, is they have some guys that are matchup issues for, the inside guys especially. And Kirk is a guy that can get himself open. He has a lot of confidence of Trevor, and he's going to make plays. The guy is a run after catch guy. He's not a special cat necessarily like Hill. Tyreek Hill, because he doesn't have that kind of speed, but he's got separation ability, and he's one of those guys that's very versatile. So he's going to have a big year. There's no question about it.
As a former head coach in the National Football League, have you ever called a 4th and 1 and your running back took it to the house? James Robinson, 100-yard game, toted it less than 20 times, comes out of the backfield, does a lot of different things. He's been in the end zone, 3 times in the last couple of games. That is rich and something that they didn't expect.
I promise you that the coaches knew exactly what front they were going to be in that situation and how important it was.
Right.
And they schemed that. They had 5 guys to the left of the center defensively. We had 5 blockers over there. You bring the offside guard around, pull him over there, and you got 6, and they've got 5.
Right.
And he hit that hole. And I'll guarantee you one thing: you can thank the doctors and the trainers of the Jacksonville Jaguars because he looked faster on that run with a Achilles repair that he did before the Achilles repair. So maybe a few other guys ought to get Achilles and let our guys work on them.
Well, the classic, this is Inside the Business. We've got a XL Primetime show thread going on, and Matt Hayes has had an Achilles problem for a while, which he needs to surgically repair, but he hasn't done it yet, and he's just holding off as long as he possibly can. Anyway, James Robinson rips off this run, and Matt's like, "I wish I had that Achilles because it wouldn't hurt as bad."
Yeah, but a lot of it is how much work he put in. Number one, how aggressive he was in his rehab.
Yes,
and I can give you a quick example on that. I've had 2 hip replacements. When I was in Dallas, I had the first one, and our training staff was who rehabbed me. Perfect. 20 years later, don't even know I have it. The second one I had done in a place, and the rehab, I went to a rehab place, but a lot of it was just on me alone.
Right.
And I didn't have the same work ethic.
They didn't push you.
That they had over there. And it's not as good as the other one. So the rehab, you can look at the rehab that they put him through and what he did with it. And that's why he's successful along with Etienne, with the Liz Frank.
Yeah. You give them so much credit for just doing whatever it takes in the offseason to get themselves ready to ball. And Etienne, much more friendly schedule in terms of when the injury happened. But between him and J-Rob, you've got a potent 2 that can strike from a lot of different spots on the football field. All right, so let's just wrap this up with just a quick thought on what we think we're going to see, because you want to talk about quick strike ability. The Philadelphia Eagles have it. Right. They've got Jalen Hurts, who's playing right now. It's early, but at an MVP type of level.
Right.
They go and get A.J. Brown from Tennessee. They hand him a Philly cheese steak full of $100, $1 million bills, whatever it is.
Right.
They hand him a huge contract. They've got weapons up there, tight ends to throw to, Brown to throw to, on and on and on. Can this team defend, and will they have the ability to pick them off up there in Philly?
Well, I think the key, like I said at San Diego, I'm sorry about that, guys.
That's a fine.
LA Chargers.
Yeah.
It all starts, they have to control the run, and they've got to be able to control the run without committing 8 people in the box. If they can do that, which they've shown the ability, I think our front guys. And again, you know, I'm crazy about Walker as part of the run defense.
Yeah.
With the 3 inside tackles and Walker, we have a chance. And the linebackers now, we haven't even talked about Lloyd and Aluakon. Both of those guys are playing great. The front 7 has a chance to control the run without the 8th guy. We can do some things against those receivers. If we have to go one-on-one with those receivers all day, or we're not disciplined in our lanes and our contain in the pass game, it could be a long day off.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Did Caldwell at least the early stages of the game against the Chargers, walk Rayshon Jenkins up there to where he made a few plays early, which I loved. And then if you establish that and you take that away, then
that's when you start playing coverage.
Okay.
And again, I would like to be able to say that they can control this running game. You know, they're 4-4 a carry, something like that, which is good. It's not great. The problem that they have with this team, though, is their offensive line is one of the better ones, maybe 1, 2, or 3 in the league, and so that's an issue. And they're going to have to commit some extra guys to the run early, and hopefully they don't exploit that to the point where you can't start playing coverage.
I think their left tackle is like 6'8", 300.
Oh, he's a monster.
80 pounds.
Oh yeah. He listen. I heard Lagerman talk about him today earlier. He said when you stand next to him, he feels inferior. I don't want to stand next to him.
No. And Jeff Lagerman is still a big man to this day.
Exactly.
Which is something else. All right, so we will throw at you a little bit later on in the week with the help of Chief and whomever else around here that will put it out for us. A little IG post, Instagram, and also on Twitter and on Facebook. So we'll have a little more of a preview against the Eagles coming up with Campo and Joe.
You know how to use Instagram.
Listen, I'm an IG guy. Chief. I mean, come on.
He's like the IG wizard, and he doesn't need my help. I mean, if he posts it with his touch, it'll get millions and possibly billions of views.
He's just telling you how much confidence he has in you.
That's true.
And what you do.
That's true.
What your job is. You're the MVP of this outfit.
Right.
Absolutely.
I need you to bring the noise, Chief.
Absolutely.
All right. So we are done, but we appreciate all y'all tuning in, and we'll have plenty more coming your way. Campo and Joe, let's go get us another W on the road after breaking an 18-game road losing streak.
I'm excited about it.
2 in a row.
Yes.
Let's see.